So as for the keynote address of the conference, drawing on the theme of IAEA 2010 assessment for the future generations, will be hosted by Dr. Mark Selman from the World Bank and a good friend of IPST. Please welcome Dr. Mark Selman and Professor William Boyle.
I would like to present a key speaker, a friend of mine and a colleague. He doesn't need a lot of actual introduction. Everybody knows him, but nevertheless, I would like to introduce you Bill Boyle. He's currently holding a chair of educational assessment at University of Manchester. Also, he is a director of the Center for the Formative Assessment at University of Manchester. Bill started his career as a teacher and then continued as an academician. In 1988, when the British government started to design its first national assessment, Bill and his friend and colleague Tom Christie were designing the first model and piloting the assessment. Though this was a centrally produced assessment, it incorporated child-centered pedagogy that enables to explore students' knowledge and confirm student knowledge. Bill continues to do research in formative assessment. Also, Bill has a very large fan club, I should say. Recently, I met a person who read one of the Bill's papers, and he told me something like that. This is the best paper written by the best researcher in education about the best topic in educational assessment, and so forth. Also, Bill is a good presenter and a good teacher, and we all here for a very good treat. Let me present you Bill Boyle.
But thank you very much indeed for the invitation. I was really intrigued by the title, Assessment for Future Generations, and of course in my formative way I immediately thought that it was an apology for the assessment abuse that has been inflicted on the current generation for the last 20 years. On a serious note, not that the talk won't be serious, but on a serious note, I would like to draw the attention for a few moments of colleagues to the sad death of a great friend of mine and a great practitioner in the world of assessment, Professor Sam Boyle, who has passed away since your last conference in Brisbane. Sam was born a Mancunian. At a very early age, emigrated to Australia, where he had a very prestigious academic career, worked in America, worked in the Middle East, the Far East, occasionally came across to England and watched some cricket and some horse racing, and Sam sadly died very suddenly last October, so he's in my thoughts. He was a great mentor of mine, as well as being a great friend. Okay, in case I ramble too much, there are three core thoughts to this morning's conversation, and let's view it as a conversation, which I hope you will pick up with questions to myself and to frighten him to Mark as well afterwards. Definitions of assessment would be the first thread. Real links between assessment and learning would be the second part. And thirdly, influences of assessment on pedagogy. So if there is a core, those are the three core themes. Let's look at 4 paradigms. You're all familiar with the terminology, I would have thought. First of all, we've all read in the literature, academic or practitioner, or often in the public media, the expression the accountancy model, which has been used not only in my own country but internationally to bemoan the very low competency model of assessment / testing / which has been operated. In other words, we teach to be measured. Then the second paradigm I call the banking model. We used to call it the top-up model. Child is the bucket, student is the bucket, and is topped up. The teacher teaches and the student is taught. Thirdly, a really neat term, I think, a testocracy. We seem to have operated in a testocracy for the past 25 to 30 years. I thought we had a chance in England in '88 when the Education Reform Act was passed, and the British government misguidedly approached Tom Christie, another great friend of this conference, and he incorporated me kindly. I was very much the junior in those days, into preparing, designing, developing what we saw of a model of empowerment of teachers to control assessment, centrally operated so the government could maintain their control, but the teachers had the opportunity to explore and confirm during real time within curriculum theme purposes. We got as far as a national pilot, and then governmental panic set in, and we went downhill from then. So we've been force-fed with paper and pencil tests since then. Fourth model, it's not really a model, it's the effect that we have seen the testocracy have on teaching and learning. We've seen a reduction in pedagogy, we've seen, and obviously Robin Alexander, far more erudite than myself, has been writing about it for years, the one-size-fits-all model. I call it the delivery model. Child is taught to regurgitate. Differentiation, what's that? Oh, it means setting. Pedagogy, one-size-fits-all. I always worry about definitions. I'm introduced as an assessment consultant or an assessment expert, and I always say two things. First of all, assessment does not stand on its own. Assessment has to be with capital letters integrated within teaching and learning, or it doesn't have a function. It serves to fit a commercial purpose for people who make funding out of producing games, which we call assessment. Assessment is integrated in teaching and learning. The ignoring of the complexity of the learner. Now that I'm approaching my 22nd year, I'll be 23 next year, I start to get concerned that I might not live long enough for the change in pedagogy to take the child, the learner, on board. I pride myself that I do a lot, and